Hey everyone, Aaron here. Welcome back to the Anime Talk, the show where we ask, why do they always need to make a live action movie of everything? Oh God. No, you know, okay. Okay, let's just get this right out of the way, okay? Let's just get this right out of the way. Let's talk about this. I am not a huge fan of live action anime. I'm perfectly honest, is like I think out of the maybe 30 I've seen ever made, maybe 4 or 5 of them have ever resonated with me enough that I'm like, oh, okay, that's not too bad. And most of them are either really hit or miss. And if I don't typically, I don't want to say they're always horrible, but a lot of them are pretty bad. I'll just be honest. Um, you know what the thing with live action? Let's first talk about I think live action in general. I think live action has always been seen as a kind of risk to make. You know, it's one of those things that when a series decides, let's make a live action of this, it right away becomes this. Will it work? Will it work? What can we do? How will we do it? Who's going to be in it? Who's going to star? Who's going to Are we going to keep with the original concept? Are we going to go a whole new route? What's going to happen? And there's a lot of questions that be asked about it. I mean, 9 times out of 10, I think it's more of a headache to me, at least, if I was a creator, to think of taking an anime series or a manga series and making a live action series out of it. But it does happen because I think any author wants to see a different version of what you have made already into something else. Like, as a writer myself, I would love to one day maybe get something that I made into a movie. I doubt it very highly, of course, because I've never even got one of my works published. But it'd be interesting to see that ever happen. And that's in my head. That'd be kind of cool. So I can only imagine for someone who's a diehard writer or diehard author of some sort, wanting to see your work of art become another form of medium, because it's a very big difference between and this is something that you may not realize, guys and girls, but there's a very big difference between how a movie's made versus how a book's made. In essence, take a we'll say I want to say maybe 500-page book, we'll say, just make it simple. A 500-page book into a movie, you would think, well, a movie is long, it's 2 hours, must have, a lot of pages. Realistically, sometimes a movie that's 2 hours long will only be like a half of that amount of book in terms of page length. Because what they are essentially is then you're not taking every little detail of all the settings, the environment, the world building elements of your book. You're actually making them into a different form of media, because now you have more dialogue. It's more focused on characters interacting with one another. Your characters from that book are now on screen rather than just being told from a perspective of a narrator or third person or first person. You have a whole different medium format now that you have to work on. And that has always been an issue with writers in general, and authors and movie makers and stuff like that, because what happens essentially is you have to change the whole dynamic of what you're making. It's simply put, I think the best way I can put this is you have to essentially make a different creation of what you made entirely. And that's hard to, listen, I don't think you guys realize that, but I tried before in the past myself, and I'm again a very amateurish writer, or amateurish, is that even a word, amateurish? I don't think that's a word, but I'm considered an amateur writer. And one thing that I consider myself when it comes to trying to redo books that I've done or redo stories I've done is it's nigh impossible without having to basically completely go from the ground back up. It's not like you can just take a few pages and go, okay, let me tweak this, and that, I'm good to go. You have to restart the whole process. You have to restart from the groundwork of, okay, so characters who's going to be still in here, what's going to be in there, what is the plot going to change. It changes entirely and dramatically. It's something amazing. And same could be said about anime movies, is because now you are essentially taking a whole thing and changing it dramatically and drastically to be this different thing. Let's take some anime movies and let's talk about them, for example. So one of the ones I'm showing, of course, on the screen, and probably the only image you'll see, because I'm not going to put like 50 different images of different anime movies, but this is one of the better ones. This is Death Note. Why couldn't I think of what this is for a second? Damn. This is Death Note. And Death Note, the movies, actually, to me, are very, very well done. Are they perfect? No, they're not perfect compared to like the anime. The anime is amazing. Like if I was to rate the anime, I always say it's a high A plus. You know, because that anime is really really perfect to me. You know, it does everything right. Even when it falters at one point, it's still awesome. The movie is like a solid A minus. Like it's close to being as great as the works it's based off of, but it's not there. And that's because what they decided to do was cut a lot of what they felt was filler in terms of, you know, plot lines and characters and stuff like that. But really, realistically, by them doing that, they've made this kind of more streamlined for a movie, of course, you know, because it has to be streamlined. You can't have, like, if you had Lord of the Rings, perfect example, if you had Lord of the Rings the movie versus the actual book, and if it was as long as the book, oh my god, people wouldn't leave the movie theater. You'd have to actually go and take a nap in the movie theater while watching Lord of the Rings, the first movie alone. You'd be like, oh, okay, 5 hours in? Okay, I'm going to go sleep now. And it's a 10-hour movie, maybe a 2-day movie, realistically, if you actually take every little detail of that. So I understand why they did that with Death Note, kind of removing this and that from it to make it more streamlined and make it a little bit faster and you get to the point faster. It's a good example, though, of, I think, a good job of keeping the source material, working some differences, altering it slightly enough that people will understand. If you're a fan of the anime or the manga, you'll understand what's going on screen. And if you're a newcomer, you won't need to have seen those because you'll understand what's going on the screen. That's a good job. That's perfect. Another example is Battle Royale. Battle Royale wasn't an anime; it was a manga. But when they actually came out as a live action, it's one of my favorite live action films. I mean, that movie I've seen maybe 30 times. I swear to God. And I love Battle Royale. It's a great... Okay, maybe not 30 times. I should have not swear to God saying I've seen that movie 30 times. I've seen it realistically maybe like 10, maybe 11 times. But Battle Royale is an amazing movie because it's got everything you want from it. It's got this cool concept. It's got a very visceral story. It's got a lot of action, a lot of disturbing moments that are not per se horrifying, but more so like, wow, I can't believe that happened moments, compared to the manga, which the manga is like that too, but the manga is at sometimes more lighthearted, more times comedic at times. It's still very visceral, it's still very action-packed and, you know, creepy, disturbing at times, but there was a big difference between the movie and the manga to me. But the movie did such a great job of keeping what made Battle Royale, the manga, great, and just changed everything about it per se. They didn't change every little detail, but they changed about the majority of it and made something amazing. They made something that you could watch over and over again and still find it awesome. Not the sequel. The sequel sucks. I'm sorry. You know, I understand that the son wanted to create the sequel because the father of the first movie died, and I understand. You know, listen, I that's so great that he did that. He tried it, but the movie is terrible. Like, I mean, honestly, the second movie I've never liked. I've seen it several times in the course of my life because I've wanted to like that movie because I really love Battle Royale. I've always wanted to like that movie, and I'm like, no, I can't like this movie. I've seen it from beginning to end, mind you. I never quit midway of it, even when I've seen it like 3 times, and it's always still suck. You know, it sucks really bad. Not a good movie, to be honest with you guys and girls. Not a good movie. Another perfect example of a really, really bad adaptation is the American version of Dragon Ball Z. So we had Dragon Ball Evolution. I might put the image up for that. I might not. I don't think I will because I don't even want to look at it. That movie sucked. Like, that was way, way worse than anything I've seen in in terms of anime movies made. And that's what happens when you take too much of a script and go, you know what? Let's completely just change everything. Like I said before, it is not a big deal to change things. You have to, a point. You know, you have to change things from the source material because it has to work for a movie. But do not change every little facet of what every detail made the series so great. You know, Dragon Ball Evolution took so much out of everything. It had an entirely white cast for the most part. You know, there was a few Asian people, but it's more so as a white cast. You have the main character Goku was this teenager with an attitude and issues here and there. You know, it was bad. It was very, very bad. Like, I consider that probably an F out of ratings. Like, I wish I could go lower than the F. I really would. I would go to maybe an X. If that's even possible. Like, you know, I can imagine like some kid coming home from school going, "Mom, I failed my test. I got an X on it." That would be what I think Dragon Ball Evolution is akin to. But, you know, I understand the thought of making it the way they did. I get, like, don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't understand why they did that. You know, they want to change things up. They want to make it different. They want to make it kind of stand alone compared to the source material, like any other anime movie. But honestly, this is why I have issues with anime movies, is because they sometimes, I think, decide, the directors at least, and this is my opinions on this. I mean, I could be completely wrong in terms of realistic perspective of it, but I think too often or not, the directors go, hey, let's make this series like this because I want to make it like this. I want to change things. I want this to be like that. And as the creator of the source material, they're like, well, I just want to see this made into a movie, so I trust you doing this to my work. Go for it. And I think that's a wrong decision. I'll be honest with you. I think the best done movies in terms of the source, like anime movies, into live action movies, the best ones are very closely monitored by the actual creators of the source material. They have to watch and meticulously make sure that the director doesn't go insane with what they're doing. Like, Death Note, Battle Royale, stay akin to what made the mangas and the animes for them and made them stronger by that. I heard, from what I hear from a lot of people, I've never seen it personally, I heard Gantz was another good adaptation. I've seen some trailers of it. It looks amazing, actually, so I presume that people are telling the truth with that. But that's what happens when you actually stay close to the source material. Now, I know people are going to go, what do you think about the Ghost in the Shell live action one? Now, I'm being honest with you guys and girls, the Ghost in the Shell movie, I think, is going to be very interesting. I think that's going to be either very hit or miss. It's not going to be in the middle ground. It's going to be either really good or really terrible. The reason for that is not because, Scarlett Johansson is in it. I'm not saying that. No. I'm not a firm believer just because you change automatically a person's, race, from one thing to another, it makes it automatically different and makes it a horrible. No, I'm not thinking of that. I'm more so thinking, what are they going to do in terms of the story? Are they going to keep it more akin to the story of the anime movies from the past? Are they going to go do the manga stuff? Are they going to do that? I'm curious about that. And from what I've seen screenshot-wise, they look like they're really going a route that's kind of in between both. They're trying to go for the old movies, but also the newer series type stuff. And I'm okay with that. I'm curious. I think it could be good. I really hope it's good. Who knows? It's one of those, I can't predict the future with this one because it's really up to the directors and the actors to kind of envision what they want these characters to be. Scarlett Johansson, I think, is a great actress. I think she's one of the better actresses we have in America. So I feel that she will really imbue her character persona into, Makoto and make her into like a great character on screen, despite her being so differently done than the manga. But that does not mean this is going into a whole different realm. I'm not going to talk about this too much, but that doesn't mean per se that just because an actor or an actress does such a great job with something doesn't mean that they will embody that character perfectly, because what essentially boils down to is how the character is written that they're given. So if the director writes the character badly or poorly, that will be conveyed no matter what on screen by the actor/actress, and that's just unavoidable. That's how movies are. That's why a lot of times, like, people go, oh, I hate his acting. His acting was terrible. Do you hate his acting or her acting, or do you hate their script, their dialogue? Which one is it? Because there's a very big difference between that. I've always gotten annoyed by when people say that, because I'm like, think for a second. Was it that you didn't like how they spoke? Was it that you didn't like how they kind of embody that character? Is it that you didn't like the dialogue between other characters? Because if you realize that it's more the dialogue, or it's more so the way the character is, that could be because the director just did them poorly or didn't do the right way with them. That's the bottom line of it. Anyways, guys and girls, that's it for today's anime talk. I went on kind of a rant there at the end, but, it's important to know that I don't hate anime movies, entirely. It's more so I just am not a huge fan of them. And I mean live action ones, not regular. I think I might have said several times of this. I hope I didn't, but if I did, I apologize. Live action anime movies are hard to do. I can only imagine. Like I said before, I'm not going to go into it again, but they are a very different medium than the anime or manga. That being said, though, there's sometimes I wish that, I understand that you want them done in a certain way, but I wish sometimes you would just leave certain series alone. I don't think we need Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball anything as a live action. I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see Sword Art, by the way. Like, I hope to God it never happens, but I can imagine it happening. I hope I don't see Sword Art as a live action, because I think that'd be ridiculous. just I don't want to see stuff like that. I really don't. Anyways, guys and girls, I'll talk to y'all later. Please, like, comment, subscribe, share the video, the whole nine, and have a blessed day. Bye bye, everyone.